The governor and many state leaders have signed on to a Utah compact for racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. It's part of a promise he made to black community leaders earlier this year.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
This year's many protests against racism and inequality impacted Governor Gary Herbert.
And it caused us to, I think, have introspection. I know for myself personally.
He's been meeting regularly with minority community leaders to talk about policy changes and reforms.
It's not good enough. Wherever we are on this spectrum, we can do better.
It's resulted in the Utah Compact on racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. The policy statement acknowledges racism exists in Utah and says they'll call it out. They'll invest in ways to eliminate disparities, advance policies that provide equal opportunity and access to education, employment, housing, and health care, work for more equitable representation and inclusion on decision-making, and acknowledge this is a movement, not a moment.
It won't be short, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worthwhile.
Some of the state's biggest businesses are backing it. Former Utah Jazz owner GAIL Miller made an apology.
A few years ago, I stood on the floor of the arena and declared, "We are not a racist community." I feel inclined to apologize for that today. I have since learned that we are, and we need to face it.
Some of those who've led the protests are praising the compact. The head of Utah's Black Lives Matter movement says the governor has already started making policy changes.
It is words, but he actually has us meeting every week on a police reform commission where he's actually enacting new policies. So I do believe his heart on this, I do.
The compact will play into a series of bills in the works in the state legislature. Representative Sandra Hollins is planning a bill to declare racism a public health crisis.
When we start looking at racism in our community and the impact that it is having on our health, it goes hand in hand.
Activists say it's the protests in Utah and around the nation that have helped lead to this. They're calling on people to now get involved in policy.
It's important that we, as community members and others, hold people's feet to the fire so that it doesn't become just another piece of paper.
Now, Governor Herbert is leaving office in a few weeks, but Governor-elect Spencer Cox has also signed on to this compact and will implement it. Live on the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.